What is our God like? Isaiah counters that with another question. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and marked off the heavens with a span of his hand? Who has gathered the dust of the earth in a measure, or weighed the mountains on a balance and the hills on the scales? This morning I made bread like normal. I weighed out the flour on scales, measured the water. I used a jug. My hands aren't big enough even to measure 450 ml of water. But what is our God like? His power is unlimited. If the earth was the size of this grain of sand, our nearest star would be on just the north tip of Africa. But God measured the heavens with the span of his hand. You may know this series of board books. That's not my hedgehog. His ears are too fluffy. But when you see politicians or parties or policies claiming they can fix the world, I'd like you to say with me, that's not my God. His hands are too small to save. We've heard a lot recently, haven't we, about advisors. Who's on stage? Who shouldn't be there? Who's had to resign? But what about God's advisory panel? Isaiah asks, who has directed the Spirit of the Lord? Or who gave him counsel? Whom did he consult? Who gave him understanding and taught him the paths of justice? Who taught him knowledge and showed him the way of understanding? Scientists are disagreeing, politicians are disagreeing over numbers, statisticians are disagreeing how to count the numbers. But God knows. His knowledge is complete. His wisdom is unsearchable. So when you see scientists and advisors claiming they've got the answers, say, that's not my God. His knowledge is too small. We've seen recently how little power the nations have in the face of a simple virus. But even that, Isaiah tells us, overstates them in God's eyes. Behold, the nations are like a drop from a bucket, and are regarded as dust on the scales. He weighs the coastlands like fine dust. All the nations are as nothing before him. They are counted as less than nothing and emptiness. The nations of the world are nothing before him. They're like the dust that I don't bother to wipe from the scales when I weigh out the flour. When you feel helpless in the face of bad decisions, or see great superpowers throwing their weight around, say with me, that's not my God. His strength is too weak. But even the church can make no addition to God. Isaiah tells us Lebanon, the greatest forest they knew in their time, would not suffice for altar fires, nor are its beasts enough for a burnt offering. If we had to make a burnt offering good enough to buy favour with God, even those massive fires we saw in Australia earlier in the year would be way too small. So when you see friends or colleagues trying to earn their way to God with fasting or sacrifice, say with me, that's not my God. Its holiness is too dim. How then do we respond to a God like this? Very simply, with awe and reverence. He is powerful beyond our comprehension, but also with joy and trust and love. For as we heard yesterday, this God is also like a shepherd who gently tends for his sheep. As we heard on Monday, he is God who comforts his people and has paid the price for our sin. I've put a link below to a fantastic song based on this passage. Why not follow the link and praise him with this song now, as you lay your worries at his feet and ask him to help you serve him today.